The colony world called New Haven was a beautiful place. Green fields stretched for miles under a yellow sun. Children played in the streets while their parents worked in the fields and factories. 2 million people had made this planet their home, 700 light years away from Earth. They had left their old world behind to build something new, something better. Daniel Wright was one of those people. He worked as a farmer, growing crops in the rich soil. His wife Katie taught at the local school. Their daughter Emma was 6 years old and loved to draw pictures of the strange birds that flew around their house. Life was simple and good. On that morning, Daniel was working in his field when he heard a strange sound. It was like thunder, but the sky was clear. He looked up and saw something that made his blood run cold. Bright lights were falling from the sky, dozens of them like shooting stars but much larger. Admiral Gregory Hayes was aboard his ship, the Defender, when his crew detected the strange signals. He was a military man who had spent 30 years protecting Earth and its colonies. His ship patrolled the outer edges of human space, watching for pirates and helping colonists in trouble. "Sir, we are picking up something strange near New Haven," said Lieutenant Karen Foster. She was young but very good at her job. Her voice was worried. "There are many ships coming out of hyperspace. Big ships. Really big." Hayes moved quickly to look at the screens. He had seen many things in space, but this was different. 23 unknown ships had appeared around New Haven. They were massive, bigger than anything humans had ever built. And they were moving toward the colony. "Try to contact them," Hayes ordered, "and get me a line to New Haven. Now." The communication officer worked fast, but only static came through at first. Then a woman's voice broke through the noise. "This is Governor Lisa Campbell. We are under attack. Unknown ships are destroying our space stations. They are not answering our calls. They are just killing everything." The transmission died. Hayes watched his screens as the red markers moved closer to New Haven. One by one, the human structures in orbit disappeared. Defense satellites, cargo ships, communication towers, all gone in seconds. "Get me Earth Command right now," Hayes said. His voice was calm, but his hands gripped the rail hard. "And set course for New Haven, maximum speed." "Sir, it will take us 48 hours to reach them," the navigator said quietly. Hayes knew what that meant. By the time they arrived, it would be too late. But he had to try. On New Haven's surface, the sky was burning. Daniel picked up Emma and ran toward the emergency shelters. All around him, people were screaming and running. Explosions lit up the afternoon like lightning. Buildings were falling. The air smelled like burning metal. "Daddy, I am scared," Emma cried into his shoulder. "It will be okay, baby. We just need to get to the shelter." Daniel did not believe his own words, but he had to keep his daughter calm. Katie was running beside them, tears streaming down her face. They reached the shelter entrance with hundreds of other people. Everyone was pushing and shoving, desperate to get underground. Daniel held Emma tight and pushed through the crowd. They made it inside just as another explosion shook the ground, but the shelters were not built to stop weapons from space. The alien ships above did not care about shelters or civilians or children. Their weapons turned entire city blocks into glass and ash. They were precise and efficient. There were no warnings, no chances to surrender. Just death from above. Within 6 hours, New Haven was silent. Every city had been destroyed. Every person was dead. 2 million lives ended without explanation or mercy. When the Defender finally arrived 2 days later, Hayes stood on his bridge and stared at what was left. The planet below was covered in smoke and fire. The oceans were boiling. Where cities had stood, only black craters remained. "No life signs, sir," Lieutenant Foster said. She was crying. Many of the crew were crying. Some had family on New Haven. All of them knew people who had died. Hayes felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. Not sadness, not yet. That would come later. Right now he felt anger. Pure burning anger. "Record everything," he ordered. "Every scan, every image, every piece of data. Send it all back to Earth and find me a trail. Those ships left traces in space. I want to know where they came from." "Sir, we are receiving a transmission," the communication officer said. "It is not human. It is being broadcast on all frequencies." "Put it through." A mechanical voice filled the bridge. It spoke in English, translated by some kind of computer. "Attention, humans. You have broken the rules of the Kraler Dominion. The settlement on this world was built in forbidden space. Your species has been warned. This action is legal under Galactic Council Resolution 7842. Do not leave your home star system again. Stay in your quarantine zone. This is not a request. It is an order. The message repeated 3 times and then stopped. Hayes stared at the screen in disbelief. Quarantine zone? We never agreed to any quarantine zone. We never even knew these aliens existed. They did not care, sir, Lieutenant Foster said quietly. They just killed 2 million people for breaking rules we did not know about. Hayes turned back to look at the burning planet. Daniel Wright was down there somewhere. Katie Wright. Little Emma, who loved to draw birds. All of them were ash now. And for what? For building homes on a planet that some alien empire claimed as theirs? Get me Earth Command, Hayes said. His voice was different now, harder, colder. Tell them we need an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. Tell them that humanity just learned we are not alone in the universe. And tell them that we just made enemies who think we are bugs to be stepped on. He paused, still looking at New Haven's corpse. And tell them that those aliens are about to learn what happens when you step on humans, because we do not die quietly. We fight back. The Defender turned away from New Haven and jumped toward Earth. Behind them, the colony burned like a funeral fire visible across the stars. It was a message to anyone watching. Humanity had been pushed. Now the whole galaxy would see what happened when humans pushed back. In the days that followed, the images from New Haven reached Earth. People around the world watched in horror as they saw what had been done to their brothers and sisters in space. 2 million people dead, an entire colony erased. And the aliens responsible thought this was acceptable. They thought humans would just accept it and stay quiet. They were wrong. They had made the biggest mistake of their existence. They had attacked humanity and expected no consequences. They had treated humans like animals to be caged. They had killed innocents without mercy or warning. Now they would learn the truth about humans. When pushed to the edge, humans did not break. They became steel. And that steel was about to be forged into a weapon that would make the entire galaxy tremble. The United Earth Council chamber was packed with people. Every nation had sent representatives. Military leaders stood alongside politicians. Scientists sat next to business executives. Everyone had come because everyone understood that this moment would decide humanity's future. President Margaret Chen stood at the main podium. She was 61 years old and had led Earth through many crises. Economic problems, environmental disasters, political fights. But nothing had prepared her for this. She had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes were red and tired, but her voice was strong. 2 million of our people are dead, she said. The words echoed through the silent chamber. New Haven is gone. 17 other settlements have also been destroyed. We are under attack by aliens who call themselves the Krayler Dominion. They say we broke their rules. Rules we never knew existed. Rules we never agreed to follow. She paused and looked around the room. The question we must answer today is simple. What do we do now? Ambassador Carlos Rivera stood up. He was from the Latin American Federation and had always believed in peace. We should try to talk to them. There must be a way to communicate. We can explain that we did not know about their rules. Maybe they will understand. General Patrick Hughes slammed his hand on the table. He was the highest-ranking military officer on Earth. At 58, he had fought in many wars. He knew what happened to those who showed weakness. They murdered 2 million people without a single warning. They sent us a message after they killed everyone. These are not people who want to talk. These are executioners. Then what do you suggest? Asked Prime Minister Yuki Tanaka from the Pacific Coalition. War against aliens who destroyed an entire colony in hours? Against aliens who are part of some galactic government we know nothing about? General Hughes stood up tall. His uniform was covered with medals from decades of service. I suggest we do what humans have always done when facing extinction. We fight, we build, we adapt, and we make sure nobody ever does this to us again. With what? Chancellor Otto Becker demanded. He represented the European Union. We have maybe 300 warships. Most of them are old patrol boats. The footage shows hundreds of alien ships, each one more advanced than anything we have. Then we build more, Hughes said simply. We use every factory, every shipyard, every resource. We train every person who can fight. We build a fleet so large that these aliens will wish they had never heard of Earth. The cost would be enormous, someone said from the crowd. The cost of not doing it is extinction, Hughes shouted. They said we are quarantined. They said we broke their laws. But we never agreed to any of this. We are being judged by rules we had no part in making. The penalty for not knowing their rules is death. Well, I say we teach them about judging humans. The arguing went on for an hour. Some people wanted peace. Others wanted revenge. Some were afraid. Others were angry. But everyone knew they had to decide soon. President Chen raised her hand for silence. I have been talking with Dr. Henry Lambert and his science team. Dr. Lambert, please share what you have learned. An old man with white hair stood up. He was 76 years old and had helped invent Earth's faster-than-light engines. His name was Henry Lambert, and he was the smartest scientist alive. Screens and data appeared around him as he spoke. Thank you, Madam President. My team has studied every second of footage from New Haven. The alien ships use technology similar to ours, but more advanced. Their weapons are very powerful, but not impossible to understand. Most importantly, their ships have a weakness. They use one main power source. If we destroy that, the whole ship stops working. You are saying we can beat them? President Chen asked. I am saying they are not gods, Lambert replied. They are maybe 50 or 100 years ahead of us in technology, but they clearly think we are nothing. They did not expect us to fight back. They did not take precautions. They certainly did not expect us to learn from their technology. How long would it take to build a fleet that could fight them? Hughes asked. Lambert smiled, but it was not a happy smile. If we use every resource we have, if we convert every factory to make weapons, if we give our best engineers unlimited money and authority, 3 years, maybe 4. 3 years, President Chen repeated slowly, and during that time they could come back and finish killing us all. They could, Lambert agreed. But I do not think they will. That message they sent was a warning, a punishment for breaking rules we did not know. They think they scared us. They think we will stay in our solar system and never leave again. They do not understand humans at all. President Chen looked around the chamber. She saw fear on many faces. But she also saw something else. Determination, anger, the same spirit that had driven humans to cross oceans, climb mountains, and reach for the stars. I'm calling for a vote, she said. The question is whether to authorize the Global Emergency Mobilization Act. This act would give our military the power to use any resources they need. It would transform Earth into a war economy. Everything we do will be focused on building a fleet. All those in favor? Hands rose across the chamber. Almost everyone voted yes, all opposed. Only a few hands rose. Not enough to matter. The motion passes, President Chen declared. General Hughes, you have your authorization. Dr. Lambert, you have whatever you need. Admiral Hayes, you are now Fleet Admiral. You are in command of all military operations. She looked around the room one more time. Everyone here needs to understand what this means. For the next 3 or 4 years, life will be hard. There will be no luxuries, no wasted resources. Every person, every nation, every company will help build this fleet. We will create an armada that the galaxy has never seen, and when we are ready, we will go to the Kraler Dominion. We will show them exactly what happens when you attack humanity. The chamber erupted in applause. Not happy applause. Grim, determined applause. As people filed out to begin the greatest effort in human history, Fleet Admiral Hayes stayed behind. He was looking at star charts, trying to find where the Kraler Dominion was located. Somewhere out there were the beings who had murdered New Haven. Somewhere out there were the ones responsible for killing Daniel, Katie, and little Emma Wright. They are going to regret this, said a voice behind him. Hayes turned to see Dr. Lambert approaching, still surrounded by floating data screens. Yes, Hayes agreed. They could have talked to us first. They could have explained their rules. They could have given us a chance. Instead, they chose to kill. They chose to make enemies of humanity. Now they will learn what that means. I already have teams working on better weapons, Lambert said. I have been studying their plasma guns. I think we can not only match them, but beat them. We will make our weapons smaller and more powerful. Our ships will be faster and hit harder. How many ships can we build in 3 years? Hayes asked. Lambert smiled again. If we push hard enough? If we use robots to build and mine every asteroid in our solar system? 500,000 ships, maybe more. Hayes stared at him. 500,000 warships? They wanted to keep us locked in one star system. They wanted to trap us like animals in a cage. Well, they just gave us a reason to turn our system into the greatest war machine in the galaxy. In 3 years, we will have a fleet that could fight anyone. The question is, will it be enough? It will be, Hayes said with certainty. Because it has to be. Because if we fail, humanity dies. And humans do not give up, we fight. And we win. He turned back to the star charts. The Krayler Dominion had won the first battle. They had killed 2 million people and thought that was the end of it. They thought humans would be too scared to fight back. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Humanity was not scared. Humanity was angry, and an angry human was the most dangerous thing in the universe. The mobilization began the next day. Factories that made cars started making ship parts. Farms increased production to feed the workers. Schools started training pilots and engineers. Every person on Earth now had a job related to the war effort. The Krayler Dominion had attacked humans expecting easy prey. They had treated Earth like an annoying insect to be crushed, but insects could be crushed. Humans could not. Humans were different. When you pushed them, they pushed back harder. When you hurt them, they remembered. When you killed their families, they became unstoppable. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had given humanity a reason to unite, a reason to build, a reason to become stronger than ever before. And in 3 years, they would see the result of their mistake. They would see 500,000 human warships appear in their space, and they would finally understand the truth. Never make an enemy of humanity. 3 years passed like a storm of fire and steel. The entire solar system transformed into one massive weapons factory. Earth, Mars, the Moon, the asteroid belt, every station and every ship. All of it working toward one goal, building the fleet that would strike back at the Krayler Dominion. Commander. Julia Grant stood in the observation deck of Titan Shipyard 7. She was 34 years old and had been an engineer building cargo ships before the war. Now she was the director of one of the largest military shipyards in human history. Through the massive windows, she watched another battleship roll out of the automated assembly line. "That is number 427-891, said Lieutenant Kevin Shaw, her assistant. He looked tired. Everyone looked tired these days. Nobody rested. Nobody stopped. "We are on track to hit 450,000 by the end of the month," Julia nodded. The ship was beautiful in a deadly way. The Javelin-class destroyer was much smaller than the old patrol ships, but carried 8 times more weapons. Its hull was made from metals mined from asteroids. Its engines were new fusion plasma reactors that Dr. Lambert's team had invented, and its weapons could punch holes through anything. "Are the Lance arrays installed?" Julia asked. "Final tests are happening now. The magnetic accelerators are working at almost 100% efficiency. These ships will destroy anything the Krayler have." Down on Earth, everything had changed. Cities that once had shopping centers now had training facilities. Every person over 16 years old learned basic military skills. Those who could not fight worked in factories, farms, or support roles. The entire planet had been reorganized with military efficiency. In Detroit, old car factories now produce ship parts 24 hours a day. In Mumbai, a facility larger than the old city made weapons systems. In São Paulo, food grew in vertical farms 100 stories tall, feeding the billions of workers who kept the war machine running. Captain Ryan Blake sat in a classroom at Luna Academy, watching new pilots train. The academy had been built in just 6 months, carved deep into the moon's surface. It could train 10,000 pilots at the same time. "Look at them," said Colonel Patricia Moore, standing beside him. Most were children when New Haven was destroyed. They grew up knowing only preparation for war. Ryan watched the young pilots in their simulators. The youngest were 17, the oldest barely 23. They had been kids when the mobilization began. Now they were humanity's warriors, trained to fly the most advanced combat ships ever built. "How good are they?" Ryan asked. "Better than we hoped. The neural interface technology lets them connect directly to their ships. They can think and the ship responds instantly. The aliens might have better technology, but I bet they do not have pilots like ours." Ryan watched a young woman named Lauren Kim complete a perfect attack run on a simulated Krayler vessel. Her scores were incredible. She was one of hundreds of elite pilots who would lead the fleet when the time came. On Mars, the mining colonies had expanded into huge industrial centers. Entire mountains were being torn apart for raw materials. Orbital foundries processed metal constantly, feeding it into the construction pipeline that stretched across the solar system. "We are exceeding all projections," reported Director Helen Foster at the monthly production meeting. She stood before holographic displays showing real-time data from across the solar system. Current count is 463,000 completed warships, with another 65,000 being built right now. Fleet Admiral Hayes studied the numbers from his office aboard Command Station Alpha, a massive platform that served as military headquarters. His hair was gray now and new lines marked his face. 3 years of 16-hour workdays had aged him 10 years. "What about crews?" he asked. "We have enough trained personnel for 490,000 ships," Helen replied. "The training programs have worked better than expected. Training deaths are below 2%. Still too high," Hayes muttered. 2% of millions meant tens of thousands of dead recruits. But there was no time to be gentle. Every pilot, every gunner, every engineer needed to be perfect. Anything less meant death when they finally faced the Krayler. "Sir, we have also completed the new communication network," added Admiral Scott Palmer, Hayes' second-in-command. "Every ship can now communicate instantly using quantum technology. We can coordinate movements across hundreds of light-years with no delay." Hayes nodded with approval. The quantum communications system was one of Dr. Lambert's breakthroughs. It was based on alien technology recovered from New Haven, but humans had improved it. The aliens had underestimated human cleverness. That would be their downfall. "What about intelligence?" Hayes asked. "Do we know where to find them?" Commander Lisa Harper stepped forward. She was head of the Intelligence Division. Her people had spent 3 years analyzing data from New Haven, tracking alien movements and intercepting communications. "We found what we believe is their main shipyard," Lisa said, showing a star map. "It is in the Kepler 186 system, about 500 light-years from Earth. Our spy drones confirm massive structures consistent with military production." "How many ships do they have?" Hayes asked. "Conservative estimate is 50,000 ships at the shipyard, maybe another 100,000 spread across their territory. They are a big military power, but they are stretched thin. Most of their fleet is fighting something called the Vexari Collective." Hayes leaned back, thinking about this. The galaxy was more complex than they had known. There were not just humans and Krayler. There were multiple species, multiple powers, all competing for territory, and humanity had been just a footnote, an annoyance to be eliminated. "They did not expect us to build this fast," Scott Palmer observed. "Our intelligence says they do not even know about our mobilization. They think we went back to Earth and gave up." "Good," Hayes said coldly. "Let them think that. When we arrive, I want it to be a complete surprise. I want them to see 500,000 human warships and realize they made a terrible mistake." Dr. Lambert entered the room, looking exhausted but happy. "Admiral, I have good news. We cracked their shield technology. Not only cracked it, we improved it. Our new shields can absorb plasma fire and redirect it. We turned their weapons into a weakness. When can we deploy?" Hayes asked. "The first 100,000 ships already have the new shields. The rest will be ready in 2 months." Hayes stood and walked to the window. Below, Earth gleamed with lights. Cities working around the clock. Orbital elevators moving materials. Spacecraft moving in perfect coordination. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. 3 years ago, we lost New Haven," he said quietly. "We lost 2 million people who died without knowing why. We lost children like Emma Wright, families like Daniel and Katie Wright, dreams and futures. The Krayler Dominion did that. They erased part of humanity because we broke rules we never knew existed." He turned to face his officers. "In 2 months, we answer that crime. We take 500,000 warships and jump into Krayler space. We destroy their shipyards. We eliminate their fleet. And we send a message to every power in this galaxy. Humanity will not be caged. Humanity will not be exterminated. And anyone who tries will face consequences beyond their nightmares." The officers stood and saluted. "For New Haven," Hayes said. "For New Haven," they answered together. 2 months later, the Great Fleet assembled at the edge of the solar system. 500,000 warships, each one crewed by trained personnel, each one equipped with weapons and defenses better than anything the Krayler had. They formed perfect geometric patterns, filling space with human determination made real. Fleet Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, the new flagship. Around him, his crew worked with practiced skill. On screens throughout the ship, pictures of New Haven's victims were displayed. A reminder of why they fought. "All ships report ready, sir," said Captain Ryan Blake, now his tactical officer. "Course set for Kepler 186, confirmed the navigation officer." Hayes looked at the fleet. 500,000 ships, millions of crew members. 3 years of work, sacrifice, and determination. "Send to all ships," he ordered. "Today we take back our future." Today we show the galaxy what humans can do. Today we avenge New Haven. All ships jump. The stars blurred as 500,000 warships entered hyperspace at once. They tore a hole in space so large it would be visible from distant galaxies. The human race was going to war, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Krayler Dominion had attacked humanity expecting easy prey. They had killed millions and thought that was the end of it. They were about to learn the most important lesson in galactic history. Never underestimate humans. Never attack their families. Never think they will accept injustice quietly. Because when you push humans, they do not break. They become steel. They become fire. They become unstoppable, and they never ever forget. The Krayler home system of Kepler 186 had been peaceful for 300 years. Its massive shipyards built vessels for dozens of client species. Its defense fleet patrolled with routine boredom. Nothing ever threatened the heart of the Dominion's military power. That peace ended when 500,000 human warships emerged from hyperspace. Shipmaster Vrex stood on the command deck of the Dominator, the largest Krayler battlecruiser in the home fleet. His four eyes widened in shock as sensors screamed warnings. "What is happening?" he demanded. His voice was harsh through the translator. "How many ships?" 500,000 contacts, Shipmaster, his sensor operator said, voice shaking with fear. "All human vessels. All armed for combat. They are spreading into attack formation." "Impossible," Vrex hissed. "The humans were locked in their home system. They have no fleet. We destroyed their colonies. We taught them their place." The communication systems crackled. A human voice filled the bridge, speaking perfect Krayler language. The voice was cold and emotionless. "Attention, Krayler Dominion. This is Fleet Admiral Gregory Hayes of the United Earth Forces. 3 years ago, you destroyed our colony at New Haven. You killed 2 million civilians without warning. You claimed we broke rules we never agreed to. You claimed authority you never established with us. Today we reject your authority. Today we reject your rules. Today we deliver justice for New Haven. You have 30 seconds to evacuate non-combat personnel from your orbital facilities. After that, we will consider everything in this system a military target. Hayes out." Vrex stared at the screen in disbelief. "They dare to threaten us?" 30 seconds, Shipmaster," his tactical officer shouted. "What are your orders?" Vrex's training took over. "Sound general alert. All defense platforms online. All ships to combat stations. Inform the Council we are under attack." Around the shipyards, alarms screamed. Thousands of Krayler workers rushed to evacuation pods while warships powered up. The home fleet, numbering 30,000 vessels, moved to intercept the human armada, but they were too slow. 30 seconds have passed. Captain Ryan Blake reported from his station aboard the Vengeance. "All ships report weapons armed." Fleet Admiral Hayes took a deep breath. 3 years of preparation. 3 years of building. 3 years of waiting for this moment. "All ships," he ordered. "Open fire." Space lit up with unleashed fury. 500,000 warships fired at once. Magnetic lance arrays hurled projectiles at incredible speeds. Missiles streaked across the darkness, each carrying plasma warheads. Energy beams lanced out, invisible until they hit their targets. The Krayler orbital shipyard simply ceased to exist. In the first volley, humanity erased 50 years of Krayler construction. Partially built warships exploded. Manufacturing facilities vaporized. Storage areas filled with weapons detonated in chain reactions that lit up the system like new suns. Direct hits on all primary targets, Ryan reported. Enemy shipyards destroyed. Moving to secondary targets. The Krayler defense fleet tried to return fire, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. For every Krayler ship, there were 17 human vessels. And the human ships were faster, more agile, and hit harder. Commander Julia Grant led Battle Group 7 against the Krayler Third Fleet. Her tactical display showed enemy positions in red, her forces in blue. 10,000 ships under her command. "All ships execute attack pattern Delta," she ordered. "Focus fire on their command vessels first. Cut off their coordination." The human ships moved like a school of fish, each vessel perfectly synchronized. Neural interface technology allowed pilots to react in milliseconds, coordinating attacks with precision the Krayler could not match. Lauren Kim flew her interceptor through a storm of plasma fire. Her neural link fed her information faster than thought. Enemy positions, friendly locations, optimal attack vectors. She did not think. She acted. Her lance arrays fired, punching through a Krayler destroyer's shields. The enemy ship's reactor went critical, exploding in a brief nova. Lauren was already moving to her next target, her ship responding to her intentions before she even formed them. Fox 7 reporting 3 kills, she transmitted. Engaging enemy cruiser cluster. Across the battle space, similar reports flooded in. The human fleet moved with devastating efficiency, systematically destroying the Krayler home fleet. Ships that had patrolled peacefully for decades were eliminated in seconds. Shipmaster Vrex watched his fleet die around him. Nothing in his 3 centuries of service had prepared him for this. The humans fought with fury that seemed alive. Their ships moved in impossible coordination. Their weapons hit with perfect accuracy. All ships fall back to inner defense line, he ordered. Someone get me the council. But the council was not listening. On the Krayler homeworld below, panic had erupted. The supposedly primitive humans, the species that should have been cowering in fear, had appeared with a fleet that dwarfed anything the Dominion possessed. Sir, transmission from the planet. The communication officer reported. High Counselor Thrax. The screen showed a Krayler official in fancy robes. His scaled skin was pale with fear. Shipmaster Vrex, what is happening? Our sensors show the entire home fleet being destroyed. We are under attack by humans, High Counselor. Vrex reported. They brought 500,000 warships. Our fleet cannot stop them. You must evacuate immediately. But the humans were pacified. We destroyed their colony. They were supposed to accept their place. They were building, Vrex interrupted bitterly. For 3 years they built an armada. And we never noticed because we thought they did not matter. We thought they were insects. We were wrong. Another explosion rocked the Dominator as human weapons overwhelmed its shields. Alarms blared across the bridge. Shields at 20%, the defensive officer shouted. We cannot survive another hit like that. Vrex made his decision. All remaining ships, this is Shipmaster Vrex. I order a full retreat. Scatter and jump to Allied systems. The home fleet is lost. On the Vengeance, Fleet Admiral Hayes watched the Krayler ships begin jumping away, fleeing into hyperspace. His tactical display showed the battle winding down. The Krayler home fleet had been reduced from 30,000 ships to less than 5,000, and those were running. Should we pursue, sir? Ryan asked. Hayes shook his head. No, let them go. Let them tell everyone what happened here. I want every species in the galaxy to hear about this. I want them to know that humanity struck back. He turned to his communication officer. Open a channel to the Krayler Council. Broadcast it across their entire network. Channel open, sir. Hayes stared into the camera. His expression was hard and unforgiving. This is Fleet Admiral Gregory Hayes to the Krayler Dominion and the Galactic Council that authorized New Haven's destruction. Today you learned that humanity will not be bullied. We will not be caged. We will not accept rules forced on us. 3 years ago you killed 2 million of our people. Today we destroyed your home fleet and shipyards. This is a message. Leave us alone or face the consequences. We do not seek war with the galaxy, but we will not be victims. Any species that threatens humanity will meet the same fate. Hayes out. The transmission ended. Around the Vengeance, the Great Fleet held position. 500,000 warships standing ready. Sir, multiple hyperspace signatures. The sensor officer reported suddenly. Unknown vessels entering the system. At least 200 contacts. More coming. Battle stations, Ryan ordered. Identify those ships, the tactical display updated. These were not Krayler ships. Different designs. Different configurations. And they were not hostile. A communication came through. Human fleet, this is Diplomat Zara of the Vexari Collective. We come as observers, not combatants. We have been monitoring your conflict. We wish to negotiate. Hayes glanced at Ryan, who looked surprised. Put them through. The screen showed an alien unlike any human had seen. Tall, with crystalline skin that reflected light. Multiple limbs, eyes that seemed to see more than humans could. Fleet Admiral Hayes, the alien said in perfect English. Your species has made quite an impression. The Galactic Council has convened an emergency session. They wish to discuss revising your status. You are no longer considered a minor species. You are now considered either a threat or an opportunity. That depends on what happens next. Hayes smiled grimly. Tell the Council we will consider discussions, but not until they apologize for New Haven and recognize Earth's sovereignty. We are done being treated like children or insects. From now on, humanity deals with the galaxy as equals, or not at all. The alien's expression was unreadable, but something in its posture suggested respect. I will convey your terms. And Fleet Admiral, congratulations. In one day, your species went from footnote to major power. The galaxy is watching now. The transmission ended. Hayes turned to his crew. All ships stand down from battle stations but stay alert. We remain in this system for 72 hours. And someone contact Earth. Tell President Chen the mission was successful. New Haven has been avenged. As the Great Fleet held position, the galaxy reverberated with news of what had happened. Humanity had struck back with overwhelming force, and nothing would ever be the same. 6 months after the Battle of Kepler 186, the galaxy had changed completely. The Kraler Dominion, once a dominant power, had broken apart into warring factions. Their client species declared independence. Their territory was being carved up by rivals. And at the center of everything, humanity stood as the new force nobody could ignore. Fleet Admiral Hayes sat in a conference room aboard Diplomatic Station Unity, a massive platform that humanity had built in neutral space. Around the table sat representatives from 37 different species. Each one was a member of the Galactic Council. The Council formally withdraws Resolution 7842, announced Councillor Prex. He was from the Thendari Republic and looked like a walking plant. The quarantine zone imposed on humanity is nullified. Your species is recognized as a sovereign power with full rights under galactic law. President Margaret Chen attended via hologram from Earth. She nodded slowly. What about compensation for New Haven? Uncomfortable silence filled the room. Finally, diplomat Zara of the Vexari Collective spoke. Her crystalline body reflected the lights. The Council has authorized payment of 1 trillion galactic credits to humanity. This will go to the families of New Haven's victims. Additionally, the Kraler remnant government has agreed to give 3 star systems to human control, including New Haven itself. It is not enough, Hayes said quietly. No amount of money or territory can bring back 2 million dead. But it is a start. The Council also wishes to discuss your fleet, added Councillor Vrex. The Kraler shipmaster had survived the battle and now represented his broken species. His power was greatly diminished. 500,000 warships is excessive for any single species. The Council requests that humanity reduce its military to a more reasonable size. Hayes felt anger surge through him, but President Chen spoke first. The Council has no authority to tell us the size of our military. We built that fleet because you gave us no choice. You attacked us without warning. You killed millions. And now you want us to disarm? We do not ask complete disarmament, Prex said quickly. We merely suggest that such a large fleet creates instability. Other species are afraid. Good, Hayes said flatly. They should be afraid. Not because we plan to attack anyone, but because they now know there are consequences for attacking us. Every species in this room needs to understand something. Humanity protects its own. Threaten us and face our full strength. Leave us alone and we leave you alone. It is simple. But what if another conflict arises? Asked Ambassador Trell of the Zandian Federation. What if someone else threatens you? Will you use 500,000 warships every time? Hayes leaned back. That depends. Are you planning to threaten us? No, of course not. But then you have nothing to worry about. Hayes looked around the table. Let me be clear. Humanity did not ask to join your galactic community. We were exploring peacefully, building colonies, trying to make our way. You attacked us. You started this. The fact that we hit back harder than you expected is not our problem. It is yours. The Admiral speaks with considerable force, Zara observed. But perhaps we can find common ground. Humanity has proven military capability. What about diplomatic capability? What about trade, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation? President Chen's hologram brightened. We are open to all of those things. Earth has always sought peaceful cooperation. We have just learned we need to defend ourselves if cooperation fails. Then perhaps a proposal, Zara continued. Humanity keeps its fleet. We acknowledge we have no right to demand otherwise. But in exchange, humanity participates in the Galactic Council. Shared technology, open trade relations. You would have full voting rights, full diplomatic recognition, full protection under galactic law. The same galactic law that authorized New Haven's destruction? Hayes asked with sarcasm. That resolution was a mistake, Prex admitted. The Council acted on Kraler testimony alone. We did not investigate properly. We did not attempt first contact. We failed in our fundamental responsibility. But we can learn from failure. We can create new protocols, new safeguards. With humanity's participation, we ensure it never happens again. Captain Ryan Blake, attending as Hayes's military advisor, leaned forward. What guarantees do we have? How do we know this is not another attempt to control us? You have the same guarantee you always had, Zara said. Your fleet. Your strength. No species in this galaxy can challenge 500,000 warships. You proved that. So join us not because you are forced, but because you choose to. Help us build a better system where conflicts like New Haven do not happen. Hayes looked at President Chen, who nodded slowly. They had discussed this possibility. Earth's military was secure, but Earth's future needed more than military might. It needed allies, trade partners, and a place in the larger community. We will consider your proposal, President Chen said, but we have conditions. First, any council resolution affecting humanity requires our vote and approval. Second, we maintain complete control over our military. No council authority over our forces. Third, formal apologies from every council member for New Haven. And fourth, the establishment of clear first contact protocols so this never happens to any species again. The representatives looked at each other. Some seemed uncomfortable. Others nodded in agreement. These terms are acceptable, Prex said after a moment. The council will draft formal documents. We can begin negotiations immediately. One more thing, Hayes added. We want access to all galactic databases. History, technology, politics. If we are joining your community, we need to understand it fully. No secrets. No hidden rules. Agreed, Zara said. Transparency benefits everyone. The meeting continued for hours as they worked out details. Trade agreements, technology exchanges, diplomatic protocols, cultural programs. Slowly, a framework emerged for humanity's integration into galactic society. Later, Hayes and President Chen had a private conversation via secure channel. Do you trust them? Chen asked. Hayes shook his head. Not yet. But trust is earned over time. For now, we have shown them we cannot be pushed around. We have shown them that attacking humanity has consequences. That is enough for today. The fleet stays at full strength, Chen said. It was not a question. Absolutely. We will never again be vulnerable. Never again will someone think they can kill our people without response. The galaxy learned a hard lesson. We make sure they never forget it. What about our colonies? Chen asked. Do we rebuild New Haven? Hayes looked thoughtful. Yes, we rebuild. We return to the stars. But this time we go with strength. Every colony will have defenses. Every settlement will have protection. And our fleet will patrol constantly. Nobody will ever catch us unprepared again. You sound like you expect more conflict. I hope for peace, Hayes said. But I prepare for war. That is the lesson we learned. Hope is not enough. Preparation is everything. Back on Earth, celebrations were muted. Yes, they had won. Yes, New Haven was avenged, but 2 million people were still dead. Victory did not bring them back. It only ensured their deaths had meaning. In a cemetery outside what used to be New Haven Colony Administration on Earth, a memorial was built. 2 million names carved in stone. Daniel Wright, Katie Wright, Emma Wright. All the others. People came to remember, to mourn, to promise that their sacrifice would never be forgotten. Lauren Kim, the young pilot who had fought so bravely, visited the memorial with her squadron. They stood in silence reading the names. These were the people they fought for. These were the reasons they trained so hard. We won, one of her fellow pilots said quietly. Yes, Lauren agreed. But the cost was terrible. We must make sure it never happens again. Across the solar system, the war machine began to shift. Factories that made weapons started making other things too. Trade ships, exploration vessels, colony equipment. But the military factories never stopped. The fleet would remain strong. Humanity would never be weak again. Dr. Henry Lambert worked on new technologies, not just weapons but also medical advances, agricultural improvements, and faster engines. If humanity was joining the galactic community, they would contribute more than military power. They would share their innovation, their creativity, their endless drive to improve. General Patrick Hughes oversaw the transition from total war to controlled readiness. The military would remain large and strong, but soldiers could go home to families. Pilots could rest. Engineers could work on civilian projects. The emergency was over, but vigilance remained. Fleet Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Vengeance one final time before retiring. He was 60 years old now and had given everything to the war effort. It was time to let younger officers take command. "The fleet is yours now," he told Admiral Scott Palmer, who would replace him as Supreme Commander. "Keep them sharp. Keep them ready. But also remember, we built this fleet to protect our people, not to conquer others. Use it wisely." "I will, sir," Palmer promised. "The galaxy will know that humanity seeks peace but stands ready for war." Hayes nodded. That was the balance. Peace through strength. Cooperation through mutual respect. Humanity had learned hard lessons. Now they would teach the galaxy what those lessons meant. As Hayes prepared to return to Earth, he took one last look at the fleet. 500,000 warships, each one a testament to human determination.